What's up, guys? I bet you've never seen Jesus like this before. We're about to dive into some of the craziest, most mind-blowing moments where Jesus straight up shattered cultural norms. I'm talking about stuff that'll make your jaw drop. Are you ready for this? Let's go. All right, picture this. Jesus casually chatting with a Samaritan woman at a well. Sounds normal, right? Wrong. This was absolutely wild for his time. John 4:9. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews do not associate with Samaritans. Jews and Samaritans, they were like cats and dogs, oil and water, but Jesus, he didn't care about those rules. John 4:9. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews do not associate with Samaritans. And get this, he didn't stop there. The mad lad went and touched a leper. I'm not kidding, guys. Back then, touching a leper was like, well, it was unthinkable. Matthew 8:3. Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I'm willing," he said, "be clean." Immediately, he was cleansed of his leprosy. But Jesus was like, "Watch me break this cultural norm real quick." And boom, leper healed, skin as smooth as a baby's. Everyone's minds were blown. Matthew 8:3. Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." Immediately, he was cleansed of his leprosy. Now let's talk about the time Jesus went full rebel mode on the Sabbath. The religious leaders were all like, "No work on Sabbath." Mark 3:2. Some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath. But Jesus, he saw a man with a shriveled hand and was like, "Hold my water, I'm about to do something crazy." He healed that person right in front of everyone. Mark 3:5. He looked around at them in anger and, deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. The leaders were furious, but Jesus was just getting started. And guys, you won't believe this. Jesus had the audacity to question these religious big shots. Matthew 23:27. "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean."
You are like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but full of dead bones on the inside. Matthew 23:27. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean.
Okay, this next part is wild. There was this woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. In those days, that made her unclean. Nobody would touch her with a 10-foot pole. Mark 5:25. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. But Jesus, he let her touch his clothes and boom, instantly healed. It's like he was saying, "Your rules about unclean? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and ignore those." Mark 5:34. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." And don't even get me started on how he treated tax collectors and sinners. These were the people everyone loved to hate. But Jesus, he was out there having dinner parties with them. Matthew 9:10. While Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. He even called a tax collector named Matthew to be one of his closest followers. It's like he looked at society's outcasts and said, "You guys are my new best friends." Matthew 9:9. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," he told him, and Matthew got up and followed him. Can you imagine the looks on people's faces? Priceless. Now let's talk about how Jesus treated women and children. In a world where these groups were often ignored, Jesus was like, "Nah, that's not cool." And it came to pass afterward that he went throughout every city and village, preaching and showing the glad tidings of the kingdom of God. And the 12 were with him, and certain women which had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities, Mary called Magdalene, out of whom went 7 devils, and Joanna the wife of Chusa Herod's steward, and Susanna and many others which ministered unto him of their substance. Luke 8:1-3, KJV. He respected women, talked to them in public, even had them as part of his group. Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Susanna, these women were key supporters of his ministry. It was revolutionary. And kids, Jesus loved them. When others were trying to shoo them away, Jesus was like, "Bring those little dudes to me." But Jesus said, "Suffer little children and forbid them not to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven." Matthew 19:14 KJV. He even said we should be more like children, trusting, humble, and full of wonder. Imagine a society where kids are the role models. Mind-blowing, right? Guys, you won't believe what Jesus did next. Picture this. The guy who's supposed to be the boss, the leader, the big cheese, gets down on his hands and knees and starts washing his followers' feet. "If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet." John 13:14 KJV. He flipped the whole idea of leadership on its head. He was basically saying, you want to be great? Start serving others. "But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant." Matthew 23:11 KJV. He told his disciples, "Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant." It was a total game changer. People's minds were blown. This wasn't just breaking cultural norms, this was shattering them into a million pieces.
Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Luke 23:34 KJV.
He's asking God to forgive the very people killing him. I mean, come on, that's a level of forgiveness that's off the charts. It's like he took everything we thought we knew about revenge and justice, crumpled it up, and threw it out the window. "But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you." Matthew 5:44 KJV. So there you have it, guys. Jesus, the ultimate cultural rebel. He didn't just break the rules, he rewrote them. Now here's my challenge to you. How can you shake things up in your world? How can you show love to the people others ignore? Remember, being kind is the new cool. And hey, if you liked this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing content.